Hello, colleagues. 204th day of heroic struggle of Ukraine. Here is Natalia Staroprava, and we're about to begin the series of briefing of Mediacentru Ukraine. Today we have a guest, the workers of NGO Feodosia Kolesnyk European Education Center, who organized and initiated the language courses for the IDPs in Lviv. Now I give word to Feodosia Kolesnyk, who is the head of Feodosia Kolesnyk European Education Center, to talk more about this initiative. Dear colleagues, I greet you. Today, as never before, rises to power the question of Ukrainian language under the conditions of Russian-Ukrainian war. Why is it so important to switch to Ukrainian today? Since, and because we are defending our language and culture, we're defending first of all ourselves. Nation should keep its language more and care about its language more than its territory. That's what Lesia Ukrainka told. The territory, we will retire back. We will get it back. But when the language dies, the nation dies. My name is Feodosia Kolesnyk. I'm the head of NGO Feodosia Kolesnyk European Education Center. Also, I'm a philologist and lecturer of Ukrainian language and literature. For instance, I would like to talk a little bit about our activity, what we do, and about the conditions of creating our project and our textbook we're about to announce today. So our NGO is actively developing from 2017 and highlighting and illuminating activity is the priority for us. The main mission of our organization is propaganda and developing of idea of spiritual resurrection of Ukrainian nation. Our project, whose aim is to increase level of people capable of speaking Ukraine in between IDPs and install more strict and direct contact with the representatives of different Ukrainian regions. And this is quite a logical continuation of our activity. At first, since the beginning of full-scale war from our NGO, there is a speaking club acting of Ukrainian language, specially designed for IDPs, that showed quite good results. Based on this volunteering activity, there was a whole project born called Speak Ukrainian since you're living on your land. This is my author course written based on my personal practical lecturing experience, especially with IDPs and all the peculiarities of working with this target audience I took into account while creating this course. As of right now, this is the only and the first course that has its uniqueness and peculiarities, where you can see the whole complex approach to studying, since the deep understanding of language and culture is first of all a spiritual and mind exception of that information that we combine together. So what makes our course special and how does it differ from another courses? So I did not create any new methodological instruments. For me, it was more important to create new things. First of all, to show the actuality of Ukrainian language, especially under the conditions of Russian-Ukrainian war. Number two is to open up the language from inside. Why is it important to speak Ukrainian today? And number three is to get rid of those ideas that were input on Ukrainian land by means of force. The main task I have is to create the language stability and make Ukrainian be able to be used on a daily basis. Doesn't matter what is the primary language and the mother language of the speaker. This is the main differentiality of my course. This was all about my course and our project. And for this project, we created a textbook we're about to announce today. It was published on the money of different fundraisers and on the money of different Ukrainian civilians who switched to their mother tongue. So this is a textbook consisting of 30 classes that has several chapters. The first chapter is a little bit about grammatic and the rules about Ukrainian language. Chapter number 2 is devoted to literature, music, art, and culture in general that is formed and written during this war. Here it is assembled the important and interesting interviews of Ukrainian modern public leaders whose translation of different texts into Ukrainian are highly regarded. And these examples of these modern opinion leaders will help people, I hope, to realize themselves as Ukrainians and to be reborn as a Ukrainian. So, dear Feodosia, we will come back to you in a minute. More about the program and the process of teaching on these language courses. I would like to invite Svitlana Vavrin, the foreign languages of the National University of Veterinary Medicine and Biotechnology in Lviv teacher. Hello, all the participants of this presentation. And I would like to say that, today about people say about many things that it's not high time for that. So, for example, it's not high time during the wartime to talk about this or that. But when it comes to this textbook, I can definitely tell that this textbook is exactly comes timely. And Feodosia, me, we have a good experience of teaching language for those IDPs who found shelter in our town, in our city during the war. And a teacher meets a kind of deficit of materials because this is not just students who have to be taught some grammar or punctuality rules. And Feodosia here used quite well the process and approach of language teaching, language education, basically that makes possible to learn language by means of digging into the culture, because Ukrainian language is a key that opens up uh, the door to Ukrainian culture, and then you become a portion of this process, and you're not just observer, you become a part of the process, because it's not possible to love what you do not know. While by reading text, by reading novels of modern writers, uh, novels of classic representatives of Ukrainian literature, those people find out about their roots, about who they are, about who they come from, about where the identity and this culture originated from. And they open up the fact that this culture is old and rich. And this annihilates this complex of lower price. And one of the most important and remarkable pluses and advantages of this textbook is that it shows many interesting and modern texts that one can see on websites and social media. These are mostly the writers, the bloggers. Also, these are public Ukrainians who switch into Ukrainian language. And this is why it is extremely interesting to read this book. And me, as a person who was familiarizing myself with this textbook, I noted that many of these texts were written by me, for example, yesterday or the day before yesterday, because yesterday or before yesterday it was published somewhere on Facebook pages. And here it is right here on this textbook. And this emphasizes once again the idea that these are the ideas that our society lives with, and this meets all the requirements of modern time. And I think that many listeners of those courses or attendances of those courses, they will not be the way they were before the war. And I hope that by doing this, they do their conscious choice of switching into Ukrainian. And it's not an easy thing to do. Well, obviously, it is hard for the adult person to switch into other language. Of course, that there is a fear of doing a mistake. That's a fear to be to look funny in the eyes of around surrounding people. And this psychological barrier is the biggest problem for them because we all understand that we understand the language. Doesn't matter where we live in Ukraine. We read, we listen to Ukrainian language, we hear it on TV, in the cinemas, and so on. But the idea of making this language your tool of day-to-day basis communication, this is exactly that task that we are looking for, and the task of society. And I think that all the attendances and listeners of these courses will be happy, they will be happy and pleased to attend these courses and later on become the good carriers of Ukrainian language. I would like to thank you. I would like to invite Olena Rybalova, the retiree who attends the language club. Can you please tell us why did you decide to join these courses? Hello everyone. My name is Rybalova Olena. I was born and all my life lived in Kharkiv. My family belongs to so-called Russian different level intelligence. And for me, in my family, there was nothing in my family to do with Ukrainian culture and Ukrainian language. During the times of independent Ukraine, when I was working as an architect in private architecture building company, even at that time, I did not need language when I was working on my project and when I had to accept them and do corrections on them. Nobody expected from me to speak Ukrainian. I consider myself a Ukrainian citizen and a clever person and smart person. I started to study Ukrainian literature and Ukrainian history, both modern and literature, for example, of 19th century, but not language. This all changed when on the 1st of March, while being in Lviv, I went down into the basement where the shelter was. And when I was familiarizing myself with those women there, they, by listening to me, they listened to me and said, you can talk Russian here, we will understand it, we all know Russian language, and it's gonna be okay. She said, no, never again. And this is my conscious choice, and this is my front line at where I will put all my efforts and where I will become a part of new society, I would say. In the library which I used to attend, I had a chance to meet Feodosia Kolesnyk, who invited me to participate in a language club that was there. The whole summer, every week, I was going there every Thursday to this club, and this club became for me a factor that is shaping my life in Lviv. First of all, extremely pleasant atmosphere, soft and interesting. This atmosphere provoked me to take my language courses and my homework very attentively. Plus the things like pronounced reading as well as retelling of the text, then discussion of the read text. This was extremely interesting and provoked me to increase my lexicon. Also, it was quite timely the tasks that we had on grammar, since grammar is exactly where I had the biggest problems at, and exactly the place where I had the biggest need at. And when Feodosia Kolesnyk invited me to join her courses, Speak Ukrainian since you live on your land, at first I was in two minds where I will be able to do it, to make it. But the good and friendly attention to my personality, and I would like to emphasize that for me that was important, as well as my will to speak Ukrainian, basically took over, and I joined this course. Also, I have, yes, some problems with language stability, but this is exactly why I will continue attending these courses for them to be cancelled. I'm extremely thankful to Feodosia Kolesnyk for her course developed by her and her will to help all of us who wants to speak Ukrainian openly, since we are really living on our land. Thank you so much, dear Feodosia. Can you please tell, since the course has already started, how many people have you already do you already have in your courses? How many groups you have, and what kind of people these are? Well, as at today, we have 2 adult groups, and the teaching for them will be in offline and online format. When it comes to online, we have 150 people. This is Lviv and Lviv region. But when it comes to offline, the courses take place in the library, and there we have 15, 20 people. And also, I have a group for IDPs, children who lost their parents, who, who do not have parents, who came to us from temporary occupied territories. So in our shelter, we will continue providing these courses for me. These courses have already been implemented from the last week, and next Monday another course starts. But all in all, the teaching itself has already started. So, dear Svitlana, since the courses are about to begin, do you already see any results, and what effects can you see, and what challenges are there between the participants? And I would, well, first of all, people are going through and breaking their psychological barriers, and they're not afraid of speaking, because at first the beginning of the sentence goes with Ukrainian, it ends with Russian language, those, jumps from one language to another language. And the fear of errors, the fear of mistakes. But people are creatures of society. But when when they are not alone, when they are in a circle of the same-minded people, sooner or later they become more and more open and leave those fears behind. And they recall that this is actually the language they've heard around them. They talked a little bit, maybe whose mother or grandmother spoke, and simply they come back to their roots. And truth be told, this is extremely affecting and gives hope, and you want to work more when you see this kind of results. I would like to recall the words of one student that we had. She said, "My first language is Russian, but my native language is Ukrainian." And this is, I would say, a remarkable and I would say correct conclusion. Dear colleagues, I would like to say that you have a chance to ask a question. If you have one, please raise your hand. Okay, question, please. Yeah, looks like we have questions. Can you please introduce you? Irina Ostrovska, Expressa channel. Dear Feodosia, can you please tell about the textbook, where it can be bought, how many pages are there, and just tell a little bit about this textbook. Yeah, sure. I would also like to say that there are even texts in this textbook that makes it even more attractive, not only for Russian speaking, but even for those Ukrainian speaking Ukrainians, because you can underline and see lots of interesting things for yourself. Well, obviously, this is the first publishing example that we have. We took from the publishing house just now, and we are about to start this dispersing process, and you will definitely see it in our libraries. We are working on this. One can buy it, and I think that we will involve some state programs in order to make the publishing more numerous. And obviously, this textbook, one will be able to buy simply for themselves. We are working in this direction. All right, thank you so much. According to your experience, those people who used to be in the Russian-speaking environment, do you see any tendencies for them to switch into Ukrainian, especially in the region? Well, people read a lot, and the main task I was looking for is to make it interesting for them to read, and not only to read the grammar and exercises, with the help of literature and art and music. Since Ukrainian language is being taught as a complex, so it's not just a tool for communication. We have to look at it as some spiritual thing, and as I have already underlined, language can also be taught on spiritual level, and all these kind of levels should be involved into teaching process, because in this case, a person comprehends information better. One of the ways to do to increase it is, for example, Ukrainian songs, Ukrainian music. For example, yesterday we had a class where we listened to Taras Kampanichenko music called Ukraine Will Be Always There, and we discussed this music, we discussed this song, and on other classes we also can discuss some text that we went through. And all in all, we are trying to supersede Russian literature with Ukrainian literature. And also, I would like to emphasize that when it comes to artistic text, where we have the pictures to this text, these are the texts of Yuri Kolesnyk, 1994 year of birth, who is an ATO soldier, and also it has the text of his battle buddies who used to do military service with him. It is extremely um, interesting, and you will be able to familiarize yourself with it. Who out of those Ukrainians is mostly interested today in studying Ukrainian language? Well, I think that today, maybe even from the beginning of the full-scale aggression, well, obviously all understood the importance of Ukrainian language. But today, everyone gets involved, gets support for this project. So those people who we addressed to, they all supported it in this way or another. And this is extremely charming and cherishing. It's not that much financial support that we need, but the idea of that we are one community, one society, that lives in this city, and it is extremely important for us, for other organizations to join us and join our activities. That is why, yes, we feel a huge support, and we are incredibly thankful for that. When will the next course start, and how can one apply to it? So the course lasts 3 months. It means that by the end of December we will have a training. The next course is planned for February. For now, the course itself is designed for 3 months, and this is the one course, and this will go from one course, one after another. And here we have 30 classes written here, and we have already done the teaching based on these materials. We have received some results, and we are planning to continue this course. What results are you talking about? What can you be proud of, and how do you plan to develop this language course? Well, first of all, I'm proud of that we we achieved the aims that we set in front of our course. People switch to Ukrainian, and they support this language stability. The same Olena Rybalova. It's not easy, but those who attended our language course, they all switched to Ukrainian, and they all start communicating only in Ukrainian. Thank you so much. I would like to remind that Feodosia Kolesnyk was with us, the head of Feodosia Kolesnyk European Education Center, Svitlana Vavrin, the senior lecturer at the Department of Ukrainian and Foreign Languages of the National University of Veterinary Medicine, and the participant of Language Club, Olena Rybalova, who is an architect from Kharkiv. Thank you so much for this conversation, and I would like to remind you that the next meeting will take place soon.